Here's today's In Touch devotion.
Today's scripture reading begins in verse 5 of 1 Samuel chapter 18. And David went into battle wherever Saul sent him, and always achieved success. So Saul put him in charge of the men of war. And it was pleasing in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. Now it happened, as they were coming, when David returned from killing the Philistine, that the women came out of all the cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul, with tambourines, with joy, and with other musical instruments. The women sang as they played, and said, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. Then Saul became very angry, for this lyric displeased him. And he said, They have given David credit for 10,000s, but to me they have given credit for only thousands. Now what more can he have but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David with suspicion from that day on. Now it came about on the next day that an evil spirit from God rushed upon Saul, and he raved in the midst of the house while David was playing the harp with his hand, as usual, and a spear was in Saul's hand. Then Saul hurled the spear, for he thought, I will pin David to the wall. But David escaped from his presence twice. Now Saul was afraid of David, because the Lord was with him, but had left Saul. So Saul removed him from his presence, and appointed him as his commander of 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. David was successful in all his ways, for the Lord was with him. When Saul saw that he was very successful, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David, for he would go out to battle and return before them.
Jealousy is an emotion of displeasure over someone else's good fortune. Constantly comparing ourselves to others leads to discontent, resentment, and bitterness. If these negative emotions remain unchecked, they can poison our relationships. What's more, they can eventually flare into suspicion, anger, and hostility. This is what happened to King Saul. His jealousy caused him to distrust David, who had served him faithfully. Saul's suspicious attitude led to hostility and irrational behavior, so much so that he hurled a spear at David while the young man was playing music. Instead of being grateful for David's loyalty and steadfast service, the king repaid him with animosity and death threats. As a result, David was eventually forced to flee and hide in the wilderness. Jealousy is not something to be excused or rationalized. Ask the Lord to examine your heart and show you if any of these symptoms of jealousy are present in your life. If they are, confess them as sin and ask Him to uproot them from your heart. Then focus on God's faithfulness instead of comparing yourself with others.